So hello, my name is Belanger. I'm really happy to be here today to talk to you, but what I have to get you to do is, if you can, please stand up. And sit down. And up again. Congratulations, you only have 28 more squats to do today. So I work in the behavior medicine lab over at the U of A. A lot of people don't actually know about our research, and I think it's a shame. So I'm definitely passionate about getting the information out to the people that it matters most, you guys. So I usually begin a talk with explaining my inspiration for being here. I think we all have a reason to come and do these talks, and I'm really passionate about mine. So when I was 17, my best friend Jane, over here, was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was an athlete. I would like to claim that I still am, but that would be inaccurate. I was an athlete. I was very, very excited about sports. It was a huge part of my life. When she got diagnosed, I couldn't really do a lot. I could just really make her feel like she was a teenager. But I noticed that she got a lot of benefit from yoga classes and from our walks. I didn't think about it from a scientific perspective at all. I just knew it helped. As I progressed through school, I realized that there's a whole body of literature that's being formed around the idea of exercise in cancer. I got very intrigued by this. Long story short, I ended up in Edmonton studying exactly that. And I work specifically with young adult cancer survivors, but I also work on trials with breast and colon cancer. The literature in this area is growing exponentially, but I'll share some really exciting findings with you today. So the major thing that is measured when we do exercise in cancer studies is quality of life, because it kind of encompasses everything. So it's how you feel. Is it easy to move around? Are you in a good mood? It's a kind of big umbrella term. Over here in the black, it's not very visible, but in the black here is the usual care groups. They got no exercise at all. This is a study with about 300 breast cancer survivors in Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. The red is resistance training, so we did weight training with these individuals, and the turquoise there is aerobic training. So as you can see, the two exercise groups increased dramatically in quality of life. I'm showing this as an example, but this has been demonstrated in many different kinds of cancers, including the blood cancers, colon cancer, prostate, the list goes on. So I just wanted to show you a little quick clip of what we do to our cancer patients. In the corner there, it's our facility, our testing facility we have here at the Cross. We actually do maximal testing of our cancer patients. So that means that we push them to the absolute max, and people are like, isn't that a little cruel? But I'd like to point out that we can usually push our cancer patients further than the Oilers go. Like, they're not fitter, but they go to more of their max than the Oilers. So to be noted. And then in the corner here, we have the fitness facility that we work from. It's just in between or behind that LRT station for the hospital. It's a great facility. People ask me what I do. It's kind of hard to explain in detail, so I always just say I make bald people sweat. Yeah. So this is cardiovascular fitness. Cardiovascular fitness is actually the best predictor of overall health and overall mortality. It's extremely important. So with our training programs, again, same usual care is the people that got nothing during chemo. This is the same trial, the same breast cancer trial that I'm describing here. The red is the resistance training, and the turquoise is the aerobic training. You'll notice there's not a vast improvement in the aerobic training. However, you'll notice that there's a huge decline if individuals are doing nothing during treatment. So we're really trying to get away from that you're sick, lay down, bedridden, and I mean there's ebbs and flows of that during treatment. I'm not trying to make a blanket statement, but that there is some great improvements from physical activity even during treatment. So this is a body fat index. Again, there's still an increase in body fat during treatment for these women. It's just not even close to as much as if they did nothing. So there is now evidence that there is typically weight gain during breast cancer treatment specifically, but exercise can help nullify this effect. This is a particularly very exciting, nerdy finding. So what we did is we measured chemo completion rates, because a concern that oncologists were saying is, well, if they're exercising and they're too fatigued, or their blood, the white blood cells go down, they're not able to get their treatment. So they wanted us to measure this. With this graph, and I apologize, it's extremely difficult to see, so I'll explain it the best I can. It was actually shown that those in the resistance training group got more of their chemo on time. So that's really exciting for us to say this actually works with chemo to help people. So late breaking research, because I can talk about this, we have a couple trials going on that are extremely exciting. This is colon cancer specifically. There's been some indication that, looking back, so looking retrospectively, that exercise can help reduce the chances of recurrence, which is very high in colon cancer patients, by up to 50%. So something as simple as exercise can help reduce this disease. So we're looking at it now with almost 1,000 patients from Canada and Australia. We're taking them on a 3-year exercise program where they work with a trainer like myself. And then they get a lot of behavior counseling too, so overcoming barriers and things they enjoy, like to do, time management, stuff like that. So far, it's going extremely well, so we're really excited about that. It is now unethical for us not to provide breast cancer patients with exercise, so we can no longer have that usual care group that I showed that was in the black on those graphs, which again is really exciting. So we're really trying to create and provide a prescription. So how much, when, and what can we really recommend? So what if exercise was a drug? I've heard a couple quotes on exercise being the least prescribed medication in the world. I have to believe this, talking to people from all over the world about what exercise is, and in this case it truly is a medication. We know that it prevents certain cancers, we know it prevents heart disease, but in this case it's something that should be taken regularly. So we have this great habit of taking the pills that our physicians prescribe for us, once, twice a day, but getting exercise in on a regular basis is just as or more important. If it was a medication, these are the lists of side effects. They're pretty good. And it is very important that we are able to run away from bad guys, so a very important side effect. But stress relief, and I think that one thing with exercise is you don't see those immediate effects. It's not like I go for a run, I come back and I'm 2 sizes smaller, and that's how I'm going to control my weight. But there is immediate side effects, and I stress this to concentrate on those, because they're the small rewards that lead up to the big rewards. One of the biggest things as a grad student for me, and why I exercise, I'm not running along and saying, oh, I'm going to prevent heart disease in 40 years. It's the stress relief that comes along with it, and the energy increase, and the better sleep. So all these things are more immediate, and it's something that, if you're struggling to see why you're doing something, to concentrate on these immediate effects. So if it was a prescription, it would be 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week. Seems reasonable. We all struggle a little bit with time, but it can work out to a little less, or approximately 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. So what is moderate exercise? So moderate exercise should get your heart rate going. You should sweat a little bit, but you should still be able to talk to the person that you're with. So if you're able to talk to them, you're still working at that moderate level. If you go much beyond that, you're getting into the vigorous level, which is fine and great, but just to start off, we always say moderate level is definitely the ideal place. And the singing person, you shouldn't be able to sing. If you're singing, you're not working hard enough. So with exercise, it's always tricky. You need to find what you really enjoy. If you don't enjoy doing it, you just won't do it. So I gave some examples here. Listening to music is a classic one we talk about, but not being able to sing along. Working out with somebody, so having a social activity of some kind. And of course, sport, golf being a great example. Anything you can do that you're really passionate, you like going. So in this, we have to create a habit. It needs to be happening continuously. It's not one of those things you can do on the weekend and then hope that it transfers to the rest of your week. There's certain things that can help out with this. So motivation, what is your motivation for being active? And it needs to be something that you truly attach to. So it could be you want to be able to keep up with your grandkids, or you want to be able to accomplish a 5K walk. Whatever it is, bring yourself back to why you are doing what you're doing. Cues and prompts, so things that everything from putting your shoes beside your bed to putting a Post-it on the milk to just say, don't forget that activity. Don't forget to get it in, and this is why. Social support is extremely important. Those that are around you need to know why you're doing and what you're doing and why you're doing it. This can really be strongly encouraged by them, and sometimes you can get them out with you. The best story I've heard about this, I know a gentleman with MS, and he could no longer bike, so he started cranking, so using a bike with his hands. And his work, he was no longer able to work. His work would come with him and bike, because they're like, if he's doing it, I should be able to do it. What's my excuse? And the way he was talking about them, he was like, it was so cool. They literally helped me over mountains. He was like, seriously, push me over the mountains, but also like helped him go through those really rough days. So I can't stress social support enough. Anticipating barriers. There's always things like travel or time or weather, being where we're from, that are barriers. So trying to strategically get around those and planning those out. And then planning being the next one. So make sure that you do plan it into your day. And reward systems, I particularly like this one. We do with our participants, we have rewards all the time, and I've noticed more and more people are like, I don't need a reward, it makes me feel good. So the reward is a high five from me. So it doesn't have to be, a new t-shirt or pants or anything like that, which is also a way to reward. It can be something as small as a high five. So to explain this, I really don't like running. Don't tell anybody because I do it. But it is not my preferred activity. I definitely prefer jumping off cliffs or hockey or, a sport, but it's really difficult to do. So I decided to make my goal. I was going to run a half marathon, a Nike women's half in San Francisco. I was going to put it in a really fun location. I got girls on board. We had a Facebook group, and we were talking about our training and encouraging each other. To develop a routine, I had to put my runners beside my bed when I got up in the morning because I did not want to go out that door. But it became a routine, and it became exciting, and became something that just was part of my life. The reward was, at the end of the half marathon, you get a Tiffany's necklace, and it's given to you by these very good-looking firemen. So that was what I was thinking about this whole time. So it's developing something for yourself that you can be like, okay, this is worth it. So we have this, it's very common joke within the exercise field, because the time management is still number one on why people are not active. So here's a couple ideas that I have for time. Walking meetings with friends and coworkers. I've started doing this with my coworkers. It's hilarious. It's also easier to convince somebody to do something they don't want to do while they're walking. I don't know if there's data behind this, but I'm pretty sure this is true. Parking further away. This is something that I always do, but that's probably because I have a new vehicle. But it's a great way to just add steps into your daily routine. Getting up earlier. It's so nice to fit exercise in before the day starts, because then other things can't overwhelm that. You're not getting your calls yet. I read a book talking about what successful people do in the morning, and I was really excited to see how I should revamp my morning routine, and they spent the half of the book talking about how people exercise in the morning. That's what makes them successful. So I probably should have known that. I call them muscle meetings. This is when you actually schedule exercise into your daily calendar like it is a meeting. I actually write muscle meetings, and not letting anybody touch it. I know a lot of CEOs will do this. They'll get their admin to schedule it in and block it off, and nothing can touch it. It's not an optional meeting. It's a necessity. While waiting, I find this interesting. For doctor's appointments, for kids' activities, for pretty much everything we do, we find so much of our day waiting. So a good example of this is my dad. I played soccer. My dad would walk around the fields because I had to be there 45 minutes before the game started, and all the parents are sitting on their lawn chairs watching their kids be active. So my dad would walk around the nearby roads or around the field to get his activity in, and I thought that was brilliant. When we ask, people say they don't have enough time, we always ask them how much TV they watch and then challenge that fact. You can also make it so that you're doing your exercise while you're watching your favorite program, or, again, to play with this irony, watching your favorite sports team play. For more information, I have a blog. It's called InspireMeWell.com. We just put out our first book, release date Sunday. But Chapter 8 is all about exercise and cancer. So on this website, the Chapter 8 resource section has all the information that I can provide to you right now about exercise and cancer. So it has the new guidelines that were released by the American Cancer Society. Is it too light? Oh, no. Oh, maybe I can go to it. Is that okay? Is that legal? Oh, maybe I can't. Okay. So it's just InspireMeWell.com if you can't see it up there. But if you go to the resource section, Chapter 8 has the physical activity guidelines for survivors. As information about Wellspring, we are getting one here in Edmonton sometime, hopefully in the next couple of years, which will have a gym for cancer survivors and professionals there that can give you more specific information on yourself. Behavior Medicine Lab Resources is the lab I work in, and it actually has some great resources that are available for exercise and cancer. Life in Today's is a new charity that will have a ton of information about exercise and cancer once I get it up online. And then I have my peace organization too. And then I did a talk recently in Jasper to mainly physicians, and I didn't know how I was going to get them excited about exercise, and because we all are pretty sure exercise is good for us, it shouldn't be new information. So I lied. In the first minute and a half of my talk, I said I developed a great new drug for cancer survivors, and I had them really excited about all this positive effects that it did, and then I told them what it was, and they were slightly disappointed because they realized I was not going to make millions of dollars, that there was no money in that. So all that information is there. I strongly recommend going to take a look at it. The physical activity guidelines for survivors break it down for survivorship groups. So based on your cancer, it'll tell you a little bit more of what the research has said. For example, there's some cancers that they've done weight training studies on, and there's some that they haven't yet. It's not saying it won't be beneficial. We're just telling you what we know for sure. Yeah, and I'd love to answer any questions if there are any. Other ways to strength train besides weights. Using your own body weight against you is definitely a way to do it. So things like planks, squats, lunges, things like that. Swimming is an amazing way to get it. And it's something that, like, there's resistance bands, but that's kind of still in that category with weights. But yeah, I couldn't encourage swimming enough, as long as you're willing to get it in minus 30 weather and get back out. Any other questions? Everybody just wants to go for a beer after? Yes. What's the acceptable? So with the immune system, it's really interesting how it interacts with exercise. During treatment is when most people are the most immunosuppressed. This needs to be taken into account. You either, the recommendations there are exercising outside and within your own germs, so at home. In our cancer center, we're so careful about cleaning everything off that people are fine to come into our center, but in most gyms, that's just not it's not that level of care. But with exercise, people actually get more immunosuppressed during that bout of exercise. So while you're exercising, your immune system's a little lower. But then after you're done exercise, it actually increases above baseline. So in the long run, you'll have a couple hours after exercise where it's like trying to rebuild your immune system, but it eventually just keeps increasing your immune system. In saying that, if you overtrain, so if you are training for an ultramarathon, not true at all. But as long as you're keeping your bouts of exercise under about an hour and a half, 2 hours, it ends up helping your immune system. Certified? No, and that's such a fair question. Something that I do these talks, I get everybody on board. Well, I hope I get everybody on board that exercise is good, and then I don't really have anywhere to lead them. At this point, Wellspring will be coming to Edmonton, and they will have trainers that are very, very, yeah. Yeah, so they'll be great. And then again, when Life on Today's gets up and running, we're hoping to actually point people in directions to whatever city they're in to be like, these people are certified based on like the different certifications to work with people with chronic disease and specifically with cancer patients. So it's coming.